So if we have a look at the atmospheric perspective landscape painting project, one starts off with researching clouds and trees. Then there are some practice exercises on painting clouds and using the correct painting techniques, again with trees, with some annotations about what went well and what went less successfully. And then to end off, there is a final painting which effectively has 4 mountains and 3 trees getting smaller in the distance. If we start again looking from the beginning, students start off with researching clouds. They write about what clouds they are, what types of clouds. When it comes to researching trees, we are looking at trees without leaves, winter trees, one might say. And if we look at another example, this student has a small amount of writing on smaller trees. He's fitted it all on one page, so therefore it's not as high a quality piece of work. So if we move on and we look at the practice, here it's about using the techniques one has been taught to create those very soft cloud-like edges using watercolor. So if you look at this student, he's more successful at creating that cloud-like effect with soft edges which blend and blur into the paper. Whereas this student has used a little bit too much paint and not enough water. And then this student, if one looks at it, he's probably not wet the paper enough and used enough water because he's getting these sharp edges which don't give a cloud-like effect. So we go from this is less successful, and obviously these ones are more successful. If one goes on and looks at the tree practice, you can see an increasing level of competency in using fine brush strokes to create really detailed branches, particularly the smaller branches or twigs at the end. And then if we look at a slightly better example, you can see this student goes to an even higher degree of fine detail in their branch work. And again, the work is evaluated regarding what went well with their painting skills and what could have been perhaps improved. And then finally, as we said, we take all these skills of painting and we create an atmospheric perspective landscape with 4 mountains and 3 trees. When I look at this one, it's a very good example. Perhaps a very small criticism would be this tree could be a little bit smaller to show more distance and depth in the work. Here we see another high quality example, but again, when I look at this example, one sees not much of a differentiation between these 3 sizes. In my opinion, this size could be a little bit bigger, this a little bit smaller, and this a lot smaller to create real depth in the work. And finally, one more example. You can see this candidate, he has still got the trees, the 4 mountains, the clouds, but when it comes to the finer brush work, the finer branches, especially in the far tree, he is much less successful at showing that level of detail in his painting skills. So that gives you an overview of the atmospheric perspective painting project, the research, the practice, and then finally the final painting.